This is Suzanne Stumbo, the Ag Agent for Pike County. One of the things we're showing great interest in for Eastern Kentucky is the aquaculture projects, and this is potential for large and small enterprises. It has potential for food fish, hobby fish, and bait fish. And research is currently being done on the economics of aquaponics.
Hello, I'm Dr. Bob Dubrow with the Kentucky State University College of Agriculture, Food Science, and Sustainable Systems. I'm an aquaculture specialist, a state aquaculture extension specialist, and I can be reached at area code 502-597-6581. My email is robert.durborow@kysu.edu. I work in aquaculture, and basically that's raising products in the water. Mostly fish are produced with aquaculture. And if you have any questions, I'm available to assist you and show you how to do certain things that you might not be familiar with. At Kentucky State University, our College of Agriculture has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and we have various areas of agriculture that the college is involved in teaching, and you're welcome to look into that at our online location. We have online classes in aquaculture and other areas. We have fish diseases, water quality, fish production, genetics. These are areas that you can enroll and take those courses online. They're not actually for a master's degree in aquaculture, but you can build up credits and you can get a certificate in aquaculture, and you can use them towards a master's degree. When I advise people on producing fish, the main thing that I focus on is profit. Can people make a profit raising this particular fish species, this particular product? Pond culture is really the way that I've found is the way that's profitable for people to make money raising fish. The thing that you need to focus on first is making sure that you have a market for the species that you're going to choose to raise. And you can call us up and we can help you to decide what to raise. One species that I see raised profitably throughout the U.S. is channel catfish. They seem to be a consistent, usual, staple type of product that's raised in ponds for people that are into aquaculture. In Kentucky, we advise people to try to market their fish to a pay-like market. The growers get approximately $1.10 per pound, which is a whole lot better than usually less than $1 a pound that producers get if they sell their fish to a processing plant. If you sell your fish to at a farmer's market, for example, or if you sell the fish at your farm and they've been processed, you need to make sure you go through the local Department of Health and get the proper license for processing fish. Don't overlook the legalities of the whole process. One type of approach that I see many people around the country take is they'll say, well, we would like to have catfish culture in this area, so therefore we're going to build a processing plant. And then once we build the plant, 8 or 10 people hopefully will get into catfish culture and we'll make it an industry. Well, I've seen that approach fail many times all across the country. So I advise to stay away from that game plan and simply raise your fish, market them individually. Once you grow to a point where you need to have a processing plant, maybe 5-10 years from now, that's the time to consider maybe putting in a processing plant. But usually the processing plant doesn't spur the industry to grow. It's usually the other way around. One species that I particularly like in Kentucky is largemouth bass. Growers of largemouth bass typically get about $5 a pound for their product. It's more expensive to raise, but it pays more than catfish pay. I mean, it's roughly $4 a pound more that people can get for largemouth bass. People that raise largemouth bass oftentimes sell them to fishing clubs or they sell to a live food fish market in larger cities. Toronto, for example, has a large ethnic market of Asian population that really prefers to buy fish live. One of our growers of largemouth bass in Bardstown, Kentucky, has a large 18-wheeler truck come down several times a year from Toronto, Canada, and load up with largemouth bass and haul them off to Canada for live fish sales to the Chinese markets in Toronto. More recently, New York City has opened up to largemouth bass sales. Traditionally, New York City has considered it illegal to sell largemouth bass, well, throughout the whole state of New York. But now it's not illegal. It's legal to sell largemouth bass in New York. So that opens up a large ethnic market in New York City, and there's lots of live fish markets there, and some of our growers are focusing on marketing their largemouth bass in New York City. Another species that I think is interesting is an ornamental fish. It's koi. It's a colorful carp. It's not a food fish, but it is sold for roughly $10 a pound for people that have garden ponds, ornamental ponds that want to buy colorful fish. This is a small market, so you have to be careful. It's a very selective market. The people buying your product will be very picky, and they won't buy large volumes of fish. So you need to do your homework ahead of time and make sure you have a market lined up and you have a buyer for your ornamental fish. I mentioned $10 a pound that people can get with koi. If you retail the koi to the end buyer, the retailers will get typically about $2 an inch for the fish. So if you have, let's say you have a nursery and you're able to sell your koi retail to the end user, you might be able to get as much as $2 an inch, a lot more than $10 a pound. In eastern Kentucky, I see a lot of potential for trout, rainbow trout, brown trout, brook trout. People will siphon water from abandoned or reclaimed deep mines, coal mines, and the water comes out of the ground there in those areas at 57 degrees Fahrenheit, which is perfect for raising trout. Trout are a cold water fish. They prefer cold water, high water quality, high oxygen. They're very particular fish, and they can be raised in those flow-through systems using mine discharge water. Sometimes people have the impression that water from coal mines is poor, it's low pH, it's not good for raising fish, people think, but the coal water from eastern Kentucky tends to be from areas that have low sulfur coal. Low sulfur coal tends to have good pH. It's the high sulfur coal that tends to make the water very low pH, 3 or 4, very acidic and impossible to raise fish. But in eastern Kentucky, our water from coal mines is excellent. It's good quality, and it's ideal for raising trout. We have two places where trout have been raised in this manner with using reclaimed coal mine water. In Harlan County, Kentucky, near the city of Colgood, there was an operation, and there was an operation in Lynch, Kentucky. The one in Colgood was simply terminated because the coal company where the fish were being raised went out of business. So the other place was run by Southeast Community College, and they decided to simply stop the project. But both of them were potentially making profits. One of them was making a profit, one was close to making a profit, and there was a lot of success there. I think that can be duplicated again. Another fish to consider raising is bait fish. Fathead minnows, for example, golden shiners, goldfish. They bring about $6 to $8 a pound. A few years ago, Kentucky State University did a survey, and in this survey they found that bait fish owners, bait fish dealers throughout the state really preferred to buy bait locally rather than have it shipped in from out of state. This is particularly true for eastern Kentucky. Oftentimes minnows come from Arkansas. Eastern Kentucky is pretty far from Arkansas, and by the time the minnows get to eastern Kentucky, they're oftentimes in not such a great shape. Oftentimes they only have about 3 days left to live after they arrive at the bait dealer's shop. So I think that market is open for people to raise bait fish and sell to the local bait dealers there in eastern Kentucky. One type of aquaculture that I find to actually be the most profitable is brokering fish or middlemaning fish. What this entails is having a live haul truck, a large live haul truck, which is a very expensive investment up front, obviously. But people that that are in this line of business will drive to big fish farms, let's say in Arkansas or Mississippi or Alabama, and they'll buy a large quantity of fish on a per pound basis. And then when they come back to Kentucky, they'll sell these fish on a per fish basis. So you can imagine if you buy 4 catfish, for example, you know, and those 4 catfish weigh a pound, so they're a quarter pound catfish, and you pay $2 a pound for those catfish, bring them back to Kentucky, and you get $2 each for the fish. So you wind up getting $8 a pound, and you've only paid $2 a pound. So you turn a $6 a pound profit on those catfish. That's just a oversimplified example. Oftentimes, people that do middleman fish like that and broker fish bring the fish back and they'll hold the fish in ponds. So these people oftentimes do have ponds. Sometimes they feed to maintain the fish or to have the fish grow a little bit. Then they can load up their trucks whenever the market is there, whenever the buyers want the fish, and then they can transport those fish to those private pond owners throughout Kentucky or nearby states. Bass, bluegill, catfish, crappie, koi, goldfish, these are species that can be middleman like that, you know, purchased in the deeper south at larger farms and sold in this area at a much higher price. One thing that I like to point out to people that are considering raising fish in ponds is you really need to be aware of and test water quality. I think primarily the most important thing is dissolved oxygen, or DO, and having a good reliable meter is a good thing to have if you're raising fish to make money, if you're raising fish commercially. With this type of meter, you would simply put the probe, for example, just to give you a quick demonstration, in the water, and move the probe around in the water, and I'm reading the dial here, and it's in milligrams per liter or parts per million oxygen, and the air dissolved oxygen was around 7 or so parts per million, and now in the water here it's about 5.7. And if the oxygen is considerably higher than 4 parts per million, especially for warm water fish like catfish or bass, that's fine. With rainbow trout, they're a little bit more sensitive. You want to have higher dissolved oxygen than that. So this is a very important piece of apparatus to obtain if you're going to raise fish commercially. Another thing that people need to be aware of is the waste products in the pond, like ammonia, for example. In this kit, water quality test kit here, it's designed to test things that are like waste products from the fish. After they eat the feed, they'll excrete ammonia waste into the water through their gills and through their feces. And the ammonia in itself can be dangerous, and then sometimes the ammonia is converted to nitrite, which is very lethal to the fish also. So to protect the fish from ammonia, sometimes feeding less or diluting the pond with excessive water can be a good route to go. For nitrite, a good way to protect the fish is to use salt, sodium chloride, regular salt. So the chloride ions in the salt help to protect the fish from the nitrite toxicity in the water. This video really isn't designed to be a detailed instruction on how to do water quality, but I like to simply demonstrate how easy it is. It's pretty simple. If you want to check for ammonia in your water, you can use a syringe to measure out 10 milliliters or 10 cc's of water. And I got this water from the pond behind me. And I'll put 5 cc's or 5 milliliters of water in the tube on the left and 5 cc's in the tube on the right. And then I will add 1 drop of Rochelle salt solution. And then I'll just shake that tube up. It's just the tube on the right we add the reagents to. So after we add the 1 drop of Rochelle salt, we'll add 3 drops of Nestle reagent, and then we'll shake the tube up, and then we actually wait 10 minutes to get the color to develop and to find out how much ammonia. And with this box here, basically when you're testing for ammonia, we happen to have another color wheel in here, but we simply pick the gold color wheel out, we use the gold color wheel to put into the box, and we use that to read the ammonia result. I always find it real helpful to have something white behind what I'm trying to read. So what I want to do is read the results of this ammonia test. So I'll put this white box behind the test, and I'll line up and try to match the color on the left with the color on the right, and we have a match about right there, which is a little bit less than 0.2 parts per million or milligrams per liter of total ammonia that we got from this pond right behind us here. If we get values well above 1, that can be a problem. And if you get into aquaculture, just give me a call or email me and we can go over these tests in great detail, because you're going to need to know them, but this just gives you simply an idea of how it's done. After you test the ammonia, it's a good idea to check the nitrite in the pond and the chloride concentration. We mentioned that briefly before. They're simple tests also. I won't go into the details of how to do that now. We could schedule a workshop in Eastern Kentucky sometime to actually go through these tests and help people to learn how to do those tests. And I can make individual visits to farms too throughout the area and help you with your water quality testing. Oftentimes when ponds are brand new or you're just starting in aquaculture, it's a good idea to get the general parameters of the water, like pH, hardness of the water, and total alkalinity. And I can test those values for you. You can actually just mail me a sample in the mail. I can get the sample from your county agent, can mail it down to me at Kentucky State University, and I can run those parameters to see if you need any limestone, for example, agricultural limestone. Sometimes if ponds have an improper pH, or if the alkalinity is too low, the pond is poorly buffered, there might be a low pH problem or maybe even a high pH problem, and we can correct that with proper treatment of chemicals like ag lime in the water. I'd like to briefly discuss the aerator that's behind me. It's an agitator type of aerator. It's a fountain aerator. It moves the water and splashes the surface of the water. It breaks the surface of the water and adds oxygen to the water so that the fish can actually breathe. Some people might not realize this, but fish can actually suffocate in the water if the oxygen gets too low. So having an aerator is absolutely essential if you're going to raise fish commercially. Now this is simply one type of aerator. There are paddle wheel aerators, and actually there's other types besides paddle wheels. And this one, we won't go into all the details there, but it's essential to have some type of aeration in your pond. Oftentimes production ponds need anywhere between 1 and 3 horsepower of aeration per acre. So keep that in mind when you're purchasing an aerator, so you get the right type. There are aerators that actually are air pumps that have air lines and air stones, and they bubble water up from the bottom. Be careful when you buy them. Oftentimes they don't work very well. If the pond's very deep, they work pretty well. If the pond's probably over 10 or so feet deep, and you have the air stone in the deep end of the pond, it might be effective. Otherwise, if it's in a shallow pond, the air that blows out of the air stones dissipates into the air so quickly and doesn't stay in the water very long, and doesn't really do that much good for the pond. So before you buy any equipment for aquaculture, including aerators, give me a call at my phone number that you have there, or contact me by email. One thing that I wanted to cover is harvesting the fish. Seine net is used to harvest the fish out of a pond. A material, mesh material, netting material like made out of nylon or polypropylene can be used to harvest the fish. And to keep the net on top of the water column at the top of the water, a float line with styrofoam floats is essential. And then the bottom part of the net, there's a mud line with lead weights, and these lead weights are also combined with bunched up netting. This bunched up netting here at the bottom that absorbs water and adds weight to the bottom of the net and keeps the bottom of the net hugging the bottom of the pond. And it prevents the bottom of the pond from, or the net from rising up too high and letting the fish escape from underneath the seine net. I'm Dr. Bob Dubrow at the Kentucky State University Aquaponics Research Center in Frankfort, Kentucky. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about our aquaponics system that we have here. It's been a very popular subject in recent years around the nation, around the world actually. We find it very interesting and very necessary to perform research in aquaponics to try to figure out how to make it viable economically, how to make it more and more profitable. And one thing that we advise our clients throughout the state is that at this point it's probably not quite time to get into aquaponics. We don't really quite have the profitability of the venture worked out, but we are optimistic that that's going to happen in the near future. The expenses are the startup costs are very high. The heating costs are very high to heat an insulated building. The cost of the electricity to run these lights is very high as well. Now, if a person can find a cheap source of energy, like free natural gas, for example, and raise a very expensive fish, high-priced fish, and very high-priced vegetables or high-priced plants, it could be economically viable, we think. A true aquaponics system will work like this. The fish are in the tank, and they consume the food and the nutrients from the eaten food, the waste from the fish, and some of the uneaten food will leave they will leave the tank. They'll go into the body of water where the plants are located, and they'll provide nutrients for the plants. And then conversely, the plants will take up the nutrients and purify the water so that the water can be recycled back into the fish. However, in the real world, the way it usually works is either one or the other is emphasized. Quite often, the profitability of the plants is considered a little bit higher in most cases than the fish, and the emphasis is put on providing enough nutrients for the plants so that they grow as good as possible. So if you overload the bed, the water bed in this plant bed here with high levels of nutrients so the plants grow at optimal levels, it's actually too toxic to send back to the fish. So the fish, in that case, are simply a source of extra nutrients that are discharged from the fish tank into the plants to add nutrients to the plants, but then the water is not transported back to where the fish are. In this aquaponics tank, we have tilapia fish. These fish are very hardy fish. They're able to withstand and survive and do well in marginal water quality conditions, and they like it warm. They like warm environments, and a nice warm environment for raising plants and fish is ideal in this condition. I'll throw some feed in here and maybe you get an idea. You might not be able to see the fish, but I'm sure you see the splashes of the fish consuming the feed. After the fish consume the feed, the waste from the feed goes into these settling tanks right here. There's two of them, one right here, one on the other side. It's a conical bottom tank, and one can just turn this valve here and discharge the accumulated waste as it settles to the bottom of the conical tank. The nutrients go from these settling tanks into the bed where the plants are located. So the plants are getting nutrients directly from these tilapia fish, the waste products from the fish, and they are being exposed to different sources of light. And that's part of our experimental process that we're going through here. What source of light works best to make the plants grow largest and actually not just large but also taste good. We're having a lot of luck so far with LED lights. The plants seem to grow aggressively and have really good, nice, rich color with the LED lights.